Hey, it's Jay, and you're listening to the Walk With Me podcast. This is episode 16, and I am home out in front of my house on the beach. You can hear the waves today, and I'm so excited to be grounded and back home. I'm 24 weeks pregnant when recording this, and by the time you listen to this, I think we'll be at some point in July. Truth be told, I am moving ahead on our podcast schedule so that my team and I are done with creating all content for the year by July 1st. So I've been filming a couple episodes a week, and the goal is to start off July with nothing on our plate so that we can innovate over July, August, and September before I go on maternity leave. I'm due September 21st. And spend some time thinking about how we want to close out the year, how I want to market my services, who I'm sharing them with, what I want to share this year. And this is all relevant because of a few things. I just finished leading Mentor Masterclass, my signature life coach training program today. And this month's topic is one where I bring the conversation of triggers up. I talk about how triggers inside a training program are actually one of the best things that can happen if you yourself are a leader who can hold them, and or if you're held by and in a leader and container that knows how to help everyone process triggers. So what is a trigger? A trigger is anytime you have an intense emotional reaction that is felt sense in the body, that is intense in the body, that reams of blame, judgment, guilt, shame, something that literally sets something off within you that you know is often much deeper than the surface thing that's occurring. And I bring this up in my program because I teach sisterhood, because I'm initiating women constantly into their highest form of self, into leadership, into taking inspired action. And that requires moving through a lot of resistance. That requires sovereignty. That requires boundaries. Because most importantly, I think it requires feminine leadership, the ability to trust our decisions, to be embodied, which means our spiritual, physical, emotional realm is connected and invited on board. And we're in tune and in strength with that quality within ourselves. And if we get triggered, it's an opportunity that we are facing something that wants to be healed. We are bringing into awareness a standard, a line, an emotion, something that's been crossed or that's important to us or that is wounded. And it's an opportunity in a training program, and when you're held in sisterhood and with support of a coach, to use that time wisely. And so I like to go straight to the source with the women in my course and ask them all about the little things that they're hiding underneath the surface in response to the program, in response to building a business, and call it out. Because a lot of the time what we do as women is we mistake our ability to be in leadership with each other. And what I mean by that is, if you're in a program or you have a coach or a mentor, or you're in sisterhood with someone and you have a feeling like you want something more out of the relationship, or you thought something was going to go a certain way, or you're not getting what you want or what you think you paid for, complaining to other women or not saying anything at all is our usual reaction. That's not sovereignty. That's not leadership. That is a lack of using your voice. That is perpetuating old wounded patterns. And what we want to step into is an ability to remember that if we're triggered, if we want something that we're not getting, we first need to go into ourselves, be willing to ask for it, and also be willing to take a stand for how we can bring or provide that thing that's missing. To take 100% responsibility first and foremost, and use that thing that's missing to create an opportunity of leadership within ourselves. Often when we want something badly, when we're triggered, We want that thing because we want to see more of it in the world. And we wait around for someone to give it to us. And that's the mistake we make, because that's the invitation for innovation. And one of the biggest triggers I get in Mentor Masterclass is a huge part of the process of the foundation of the program is teaching the women feminine leadership, igniting them into a greater sense of purpose in their leadership in a feminine way, which means trusting flow, trusting emotion, being able to be messy and healing while making great money and serving clients with excellence. And so I put a lot of effort into subtle ways of initiating and teaching my clients this throughout the group program. One of those is there's a lot of structure in the first half of the themes. When we're working on walking our talk and when we're working on stepping into the role of the coach, I give a lot of masculine structure around this, meaning there's very clear action steps, invitations, and clear tools and techniques to learn and practice. So then when we get into the second half of the program, the themes are prospecting and marketing. This half of the program is a little less structured. What that means is I give a prospecting workbook. Within that workbook, there are 12 chapters, and the women have to decide where they're at in their journey of prospecting. So when I say prospecting, what I'm talking about is what every entrepreneur, no matter your business, has to master, is the ability to talk about what you do. And it's the ability to know who your work is for and to speak to those people and to get them to know that your work exists, to find them and to invite them in to the experience of your work in the world. Doesn't matter if it's a product or service, a brick and mortar building. All of us, when starting any kind of business, when becoming a CEO of our own company and a boss, have to learn to speak confidently and with pride about clearly what our work is, know who it's for, know how to share and get the word out that our work exists, and invite those people in confidently. And then marketing is really the side of how you're going to do that and doing it in the world and learning all the different ways to strategically, confidently, energetically, powerfully get the word out about your brand and make sure it's known and becomes sought after and the people are coming in. So there's less structure in this part of the program with intention in Mentor Masterclass, because the world teaches us that power and marketing is this masculine thing, that it's all about talking people into it, and there's this feeling in sales that can be sleazy or trickery sometimes. And what I want women to learn when working with me around business coaching is that your greatest strength is your awareness of your essence. It's how you manage your clarity within your mind, and it's how you manage your clarity within the structures of how you spend your time. It's your embodiment. It's your spiritual, emotional, physical connection to yourself that becomes radiant and calls in. It's your relationship to boundaries. What I mean by that is a boundary is not a rigid, restrictive, masculine thing that we wrap around ourselves to protect ourselves in business, to force ourselves to power through. And a lot of women take this approach because they're fearful of prospecting or marketing. So they think what they have to do is have a solid structure and system and a 3-step strategy. And I know this because when I asked the women today, what really triggers you? And let's talk about it to see where you're holding back in your own leadership and how this can become healing for you. A lot of the women shared they're challenged when it comes to prospecting and marketing week, because what they really want is a 3-step strategy that they think someone has. And they think that the more they spend on programs and services or coaches or business training, they're somehow gonna get this secret formula that's going to make them a master at growing their list and converting clients to paying clients and getting to a space where marketing feels easy. And I know, after years of experience in this industry and years of experience in my own business and years of experience coaching other women, that it's just not true that there is a formula and strategy that works for everyone that you just need to pay to play to get into. There's no networking event or person that's going to save you and take you to the next level. Everything that you need to get yourself to that level of magnetizing, captivating energy that calls in clients to your experience comes from within your own energy body, your own feminine flow, the structures and things you focus on in your business, and your trust, the trust that you have in your own decisions and your innovation. Innovation is the word of the game in marketing right now. It is true that when you're the very first into something, the first to be a part of an innovation, you can pick up on those innovative strategies and they can work. So what I mean by that is when blogging and entrepreneurship online was much more new and email was a new tool that was innovated, there were strategies that worked really well at that time for people starting out in business. For example, if you had a blog or you had an email marketing campaign that was vulnerable and raw and real and used the software when it first came out that puts people's names into your emails and sends bulk emails, and you were the first to create transformational copy through your blog, or you were the first person to start a podcast, or you were the first person to ever lead an online challenge, and you were part of that core group and you followed that strategy and all of you were doing the same thing, it probably worked really well when it was new. But what happens is when a market gets flooded and techniques are used and overused, it has the opposite effect. They no longer work anymore. And so your job as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a brand, is to innovate, is not to copy and follow systems and structures, thinking that there's an answer outside of you, but instead it is to innovate something new that captivates. And there are ways to innovate without pulling things out of your ass. And so what I mean by that is you can watch the experts in your industry. And this is where I say, don't get so rigid and masculine in your structures, because when you start thinking that way, what happens is you get stuck and you're not connected to yourself or your unique brand. You're speaking someone else's language that you don't really understand. People are confused by you, somewhat repelled even energetically under the surface, because there's not a sense of magnetizing clarity coming through. I believe that magnetizing clarity comes from embracing the lack of structure, leaning into your creativity and innovation. So this is why there's a bit more openness in part 2 of my program each month as we go through the theme. So every month we cycle through walking your talk, stepping into the role of the coach, prospecting and marketing, and we repeat that with a new workbook, a new featured mentor. And in the second half of the month, I leave it open. And I leave it open because I want women to ask me questions. I love talking about prospecting and marketing. I've had a successful business for 6 years. I made 6 figures within my first 14 months of becoming a coach. I've had multiple 6-figure launches. I've had $1 million revenue. I know about prospecting and marketing. And I don't teach my specific strategy and structure, because the way I do it won't exactly work for you. And if you just copy me, you'll be disappointed. What I do teach is innovation and a comfort level with chaos, change, and uncertainty. Because if you can embody a relationship where you're unfazed by that challenge, where something can come up in your work and you can actually not know what's going on, how you're going to make your paycheck, and feel unwavering in that process, if I can teach you to do that, I can teach you to master prospecting and marketing for your whole business long. Not just a strategy that may work for the first few months or the first year or the first launch, but a strategy that will work your entire business long. A strategy that will allow you to show up every time the market changes, every time what used to work doesn't work, with confidence and with grace and ease, and with an ability to create sustainable success. That's the name of the game. So how do we do that? One way to innovate is to look at what leaders in your industry are doing, to pay attention. The beautiful thing about prospecting and marketing is you're being prospected to and marketed to all day long. On your Facebook page, on your Instagram, when you watch a television show, on Netflix, when you drive down the freeway, when you show up into a store, you're being marketed to. And people are paying thousands and millions of dollars for these marketing strategies that are right in front of you. So all you have to do is pay attention to what are the big successful companies doing? What are the female entrepreneurs, if you're a female entrepreneur, what are powerful women in your industry doing to market to you? Pay attention. Are they marketing through a podcast? What are they doing differently in their emails? Are they sending emails? Are they sending things in the mail? Start to pay attention to how they're marketing, and when you notice something new that you've never seen before, pay even closer attention, because that's innovation. And notice how you respond and how you react to it. And then your job is to try it on, but innovate it in your own way. How can you make that special to you? How can you shift it up or change that tactic or do it in a way that feels more aligned with your natural gifts and talents? This is what innovation means, and we need more of it. And not many women are doing it. So the good news about the fact that not many women are doing it is that you have less competition. And you will stand out when you begin to embrace both a masculine structure of creation with a feminine flow and trust of the chaos to innovate and do things your way. When you start to take on that approach, when you really get that there is no guru, there is no marketing specialist that's going to give you a 1, 2, 3 step formula of exactly what to focus on to be successful in your business. Nobody has that answer for you. There are answers if you ask better questions. Get specific with your questions about what you need to know. If you need to know more about systems and structures, or how to lead a prospecting call, or what works to get someone to say yes, or how to get clearer about your message, those are great specific questions that people can answer for you. What they can't tell you on is what you should choose to focus on, when, first, and how. That sense of clarity has to come from you knowing what you want, who you are, and what your work is in the world. However, I'm inspired today because I love talking about business, and I have some great tools and techniques to help you gain clarity, which is what you need most. I know you just want to be able to sit down when you're ready to work, when you finally have the time and the inspiration, and have an idea of what is the thing to focus on. What is the 20% of inspired action you can put in to get the 80% of results that you want in your business? And I know the results all of us want in business is to feel like we're getting something to show for our work. All the money we've put into our training and time and setting up our business, that we're actually seeing people interested in our work, getting our work, receiving our work, and paying for our work. And that we have money to support ourselves in our lives and in our businesses to keep growing. So there are definitely a few things, a few actions that if you just have an inevitability thinking about it, these are the activities specifically for women who are trying to start a business as an influencer, an entrepreneur who's a coach, a healer, or sharing transformational products and services online. And there's really about 8 places that you can focus on. Again, I cannot tell you which order and which one first. That has to come from your feminine embodiment, your ability to know the future version of yourself. Who is she? What is that vision? What is she stepping into? Your boundaries are not rigid, assertive things that block you off from the world. Your boundaries are a set of standards and actions that you set based off the future vision of yourself and your business. And based off that vision, that's where you decide what to focus on. So here are a few things that I can share with you. The first is coaching. You should be coaching at least 5 people every week. If you want your business off the ground now, if you want those results tomorrow, you should be sharing your skill set as a coach with at least 5 people per week. The next is sales. You should spend 4 or 5 hours of sales activity a week. That means making phone calls, telling people about the service you offer. Now, obviously, before you get to doing that, you have to know what you're offering. You have to have a package or a service that's true that you're offering. And then you should be spending 4 or 5 hours a week really speaking about and talking to actual people, companies, events, collaborators to sell your service. Third, back office. You have to get merchant billing and business accounts set up. Your structures and systems need to be solid. If you don't have structures and systems, you have nothing to call people into. So decide which comes first, but know if you're having no people come into your business, it's probably because your contract is unclear and the universe knows that you'd get into a lot of trouble and mixed communication and distraction by not having a clear contract or not having a clear assessment form to people to come into your work or not having an easy way for people to pay or to process their payment plans, or you can't really start a blog until you have a structure and a system and a way to get that out there. And you can't post on Instagram every single day without educating yourselves on some of the systems and things that are available to you. And this is where your specific questions would come, especially my students listening to this. So far, we've talked about 3 things you could focus on: coaching, sales, or back office. When you know where you're focusing, you know what more specific questions to ask. I've got a lot of advice to share around how to coach people powerfully. I've got a lot of advice about making sales calls and how to do those with flow and grace and ease and success. I've got a lot of advice about systems and structures I use on the back end of my business. I've got structures from online structures to email structures to what conference line system I use to my bookkeeper and my accountant. All of these things are things you would know to ask and talk about if you knew where you were focusing and what was most important in your business. Next is administration. You have to get your administration handled. Your enrollment process with your clients, their graduation and out form process with your clients, all of that needs to be ready and set up. Another place of focus, number 5, education. Learn to be the best at what you do. Make sure you're in a process of consistent education, that you are enrolled in a space and a place where you are growing your skill set as a coach. So all of these things so far are things that even if you just paid attention to the people you admire, what they're doing, you would pick up tools and resources. You don't even necessarily need to have their exact support or feedback on those things, right? Meaning, if you're in Mentor Masterclass, you can learn a lot about the innovation and structure and systems that I've set up just by looking. What email marketing system am I sending out to you each week? What platforms am I hosting on? Any of my students can look to, if they're wanting to build a successful coaching business, they can start to, without needing to pay me, pay attention to the things that we're doing. And then your job is to innovate. It's to decide, does this thing work for you? Is this the best strategy for you? So I'm going to leave you with those 5 today. I wanted to talk a little bit about business with you. And we'll move into some more conversations like this if you like it. Let me know if you want to talk more business structure systems on the podcast. If you like these conversations, I can deepen into some of them. And if you have specific questions for me, send them in to me at j@JeannineYoder.com. Whatever specific questions you ask, I'll be happy to answer. I want to share a story with you about what I meant earlier about triggers, asking questions, why I brought this up after leading the call today for Mentor Masterclass. Because most of us are investing in some form of support if we're smart. If you're going to be a coach, you should hire a coach. If you're trying to launch a one-on-one coaching program, you should have a one-on-one coach. If you are looking to launch a mastermind, you should be in a mastermind. If you are wanting to launch a product or service online or start a blog or a podcast, you should be following a few people consistently and watching and learning what those people are doing. And if you're invested in a program, trust that the answers you need are inside of you, and also take advantage of being a part of that program. So what I mean by that is, I'll tell you a story. A few years ago, 6 years ago now, I enrolled in a mastermind. It was the biggest investment I ever made. $14,000 to be a part of a 9-month experience that included one-on-one coaching, traveling, and being a part of a sisterhood. We had these organized circles in the program where we were to meet with other women in sister circles. And these circles had no structure to them that we were told. It was open. And I found myself being triggered by that, because sometimes some women would come to the call, some wouldn't. The time zone would switch. The conversations about getting in the call were always chaotic and never came together with such ease. The calls ran longer than we said they would, and there was no structure or system. And I had an idea about what could make this easier, and I had a really clear knowing of what I desired and what I wanted. And instead of originally asserting it, I just started complaining along with other sisters who felt the same way behind the scene of the program, turning this into, I'm not getting what I wanted, this feels messy, projecting onto the mentor and my coach in the program that she wasn't doing a good enough job, or I wasn't supported. And I had an option at that point, which we all have. You can be that person that magnetizes disapproval from the people who are there to support you in your life and who you've invested in supporting. And you can do that thing that we do with other women around complaining. Or you can use this as an invitation to rise in your leadership, to be a stand for what you want to see in the world. And that's what I did in this scenario, mostly because that is what our teacher was teaching us. My mentor was teaching us and guiding us to trust and to step into our leadership. So I asked myself, what is this trigger about? And if I were to bring what I wanted and be a stand for this leadership in confidence and with an open heart, not to be better than, not to complain, but to actually bring into the world that which I want to see in the world. And that's what I did. I came up with an idea and a structure for the circle. I brought it to my mentor and asked her if I could initiate this for our group. I asked the women in the group to try it out with me. We loved it. We followed this structure that has become actually a structure that I now use as the foundation of my program. So by seeing what wasn't working for me, deciding what would work, and then bringing it into an experience for myself, I then actually found out how to innovate a new way of doing something in my business that I didn't see anybody else doing at that time. So I decided on this structure for sister circles, which is now a part of Mentor Masterclass. We meet for 90 minutes. We divide the time evenly. Each woman shares. We must share specifically how we desire support. And we all have to be really committed to showing up each week at the same time and being there and present. I found the software and system and the structure. And when I brought it to my mentor, she was so excited. And the other groups in our mastermind also heard about how well our circles were going and tried them on. Then it turned into my mentor actually hiring me to teach this way of doing circles and to hold space for them in future masterminds, which expanded my experience, my expertise, and a partnership as a coach. So all by taking responsibility for my trigger and coming up with a way to stand for it in the world, I created a whole new version of success and innovation in my own business. And what I want to share with you today is that that's the only way to thrive and excel in the prospecting and marketing of your services. It's to know what you want. It's to know your gifts and your talents and your strengths. If you want to get good at prospecting and marketing, know your why. Look deep into yourself and see it the way it really is. What are you good at? What are you best at in the world? What do people come to you for and seek you out for? And why do you love sharing that gift or talent with the world? Why is it important to you that it exists? And then see it the way you want it to be. What's missing in the world? What do you wish existed? How would you love to be marketed to? If there's something in the world that you are looking for, that you need in your life, how would you like for it to come into your path? How would you like for it to be sold to you? How would you like to become aware that it exists? Ask yourself these kinds of questions. See it the way it really is. See it the way you want it to be, and then make it happen. Just test it. Try it. That's what you need to focus on. Prospecting and marketing is 50% of the importance of your business. And you've got to have space for it no matter what kind of entrepreneur you are. But it's not the only thing. It's only second to your ability to walk your talk and do your deep inner healing, because that's what's going to teach you who you are. That's what's going to help you love yourself. And love is our real true source of power in an industry. What I mean by that is we're taught that power is about competition, is about being better than, is about hierarchy, is about commanding. And I don't think power is actually that at all. And that's why we hate prospecting and marketing. It's a masculine structure. It doesn't work for women. When you love yourself so much, when you believe in yourself, when you know yourself, that is love. When you have a reason for the work that you're doing in the world and you are passionate about how you do it and you do it in a way that feels good to you, that was innovated by your own creation of how you want life to be, that is when you become magnetizing and captivating. That is what sets you apart. That's what makes the media want to share your story. That is what makes people want to be a part of what you do. When you're vulnerable and real and attuned to seeing your life and who you are and the way it really is, people feel your vulnerability and understand what you do. You have to understand what you do. You have to have a clear package and service before you can go build a website and a funnel and a weekly blog and create a podcast. You can't create any of those places from innovation if you don't walk your talk and do your deep inner healing work first. And then you have to be an expert. If you're going to be a coach, know how to coach. Don't just read books and join other people's programs and copy their work. Take an actual course where you become an expert in the art and science of coaching. You will become masterful, and you'll recognize that it's not even about your personal life or your advice being a coach. Being a coach is about having a mastery set of skills that understands the mind, the body, and the heart, the soul, and the energy system, how they work together, and how to get people into inspired action. And then see the way you want it to be. See what's missing in the world. Be aware of what you can bring and offer to the world. And then make it happen. Just take steps and test it. That's what innovation is about. It's about not being perfect. It's about being in your excellence, doing it the special way that only you know how. And when you do that, the numbers won't matter. The income won't matter, because the experience will be this place of pleasure and play for you. And I swear to you, if that is your marketing strategy, it will work for you in the long term. one of your ideas will hit. You'll have the energy and momentum and motivation to keep going. You'll find the thing that stands out in the market, and you'll care about the work that you're doing, and so other people will too. And if you don't know where to focus, just pick one of those 5 things I shared with you. That coaching, that sales, that administration, those structures and systems. Pick a spot to focus on to bring in that feminine business model, to create from that source of your own power, which really is about love and connecting to your work. This is the best business strategy I can think of for now. And if you have specific questions in any of those areas, I'm so happy to talk to you about them. I have a lot of experience, as I said, around these things and rarely get asked because I spend so much time talking about coaching techniques that I love and things I'm working on in my own life. But all of those things have translated into some beautiful business strategies, which I'd love to share with you so they can inspire you so you can innovate. Not so you can copy my structure and system, but so you can see if there's some pieces of it that may work for you. And I want to know what your questions are. If you have specific questions, send them in. Make sure you're subscribed on JeannineYoder.com or on iTunes. You want to subscribe to get more downloads. And also, please leave a review. I'd love to know what you think. And the more reviews you leave, the more help you'll do for me in my prospecting and marketing. So if you've loved this, please show your love. I put a lot of time and effort into creating these podcasts for you. They're all for free. So please don't be silent and selfish. Let me know that you're listening and that you love them. Leave a review and subscribe. The more subscribers and reviews we have, the more people will find the podcast. And when you are signed up on JeannineYoder.com, you're going to get access to resources, tips, and a weekly email that lets you know the new podcast is live. It comes out every Wednesday. And I also share resources, tips, tricks, insider things that I don't share anywhere else online or live on the podcast. So you want to be signed up there. In today's episode notes, you'll also find a link. It's almost last chance to join me for an in-person retreat called the Captivate Retreat, where we really define and work on your feminine business model in person and how to tell your story to be captivating naturally online and in person. And of course, to experience sisterhood. So check that out if you want to work with me in person. And send your questions or comments on the blog so I can create future episodes. I'm really curious, how do you like talking about business? Do you want to talk more business strategy on the podcast? Let me know, and I'll include more future episodes around those specific things. All right, thanks for walking with me today. It's a beautiful day here. I hope it's been a beautiful, inspiring walk for you. I hope that you had some time to maybe think about a trigger in your life and turn that into an embodied action that you can take to take a stand for it. And I also hope that if you were feeling any timidness or anxiousness around your own business and the idea of prospecting and marketing, that you're re-inspired to remember that your innovation is the key. And I know innovation is not always easy, but there's inspiration all around you. So open your eyes and let it in and allow your creative genius to come through this week. And I can't wait to see and notice your brand and your work more as a result of your acceptance and initiation into your creativity and innovation. Until next week, sisters, thank you for listening and walking with me. Enjoy the rest of your walk, or congratulations on moving your body. And I'll see you next week on Wednesday.